Hello and welcome to the Daily Royal. My name is Shelby and I have been a royal watcher for the past 10 years. In this podcast, I talk about the daily events of 7 of the European monarchies. So I talk about Belgium, the UK, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, and Sweden. I upload Monday through Friday with occasional bonus episodes here and there. Today we are going to be talking about all of the events from Thursday, October 28th of 2021. And hey, props to me. I'm recording the day after I already recorded, and we're going to cover one day worth of events. How exciting. I don't know what happened today. I'm changing up my schedule. I'm putting caffeine in the middle of the day, working on getting my room brighter. We're doing all the things to make this go easier. So today was kind of a busy day. I'm not going to say it was like the busiest day we've ever had. It's especially not the busiest day we're going to have in the near future. But there was a good bit going on. Now, that being said, we are going to jump straight to the Netherlands. But I do have like a few announcement-y type of things. So if you listened to, I think the episode I put up on Tuesday, I was talking about how this calendar for November was getting insane, and I was literally just waiting on Belgium to announce a state visit in November. Well, they announced a state visit. Luckily, it's not in November. That being said, it's the 1st of December is when it starts. So, almost 2 years ago at this point, there was a state visit scheduled for King Philippe and Queen Mathilde to go to Italy. This was possibly at the end of March of 2020, maybe the beginning of April, maybe. Obviously it did not happen. It was postponed with, I think, like an expected date of summer. And then, obviously, again, still not really able to happen. So it was just kind of like put on hold until further notice. So I was hopeful that this would be their first state visit out of the gate. I was right. It is indeed their first state visit. I kind of wish some other countries would resume their regularly scheduled state visits, the ones that were canceled in 2020. Spanish royals, I'm looking at your state visit to the U.S. that is apparently not happening anymore. Just saying. Also, there was an administration change in the U.S., but still, you know, I was really looking forward to that. Like, days away from booking a ticket, going, I don't know, this pandemic, this COVID situation is kind of worrisome. Maybe I should just wait for a couple days. Luckily I did, because, well, the pandemic happened and then the state visit happened, or got canceled. And so, you know, here we are. And they're going to Sweden at the end of next month, which is in like a month. So that is the update from the Belgian royal family. I do believe their event is tomorrow with Belgian athletes, so we'll talk about that. Although, actually, we'll talk about that on Monday. So this will be the last episode of the week. I'll take Friday, Saturday, and then record again on Sunday to cover anything that happens on Friday, plus any weekend events. Also, it's a 3-day weekend for me, which I'm thrilled about. So I have Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off, in which I will be taking full advantage, and you'll be getting lots of updates and things probably on the episode that comes out on Monday. At least is the hope. My hope is that I don't squander it away. So that is the update there. In the UK, there were a couple of events, but like meh kind of events. So first, Queen Elizabeth held a virtual audience with the 2020 winner of the Queen's Gold Medal for Poetry. Again, virtual audience. I'm still concerned. End of story. And then also this morning, the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall launched this year's campaign for the Poppy Legion, which will be the 100th anniversary of the Poppy campaign, or Poppy Appeal, which is basically a fundraiser. where you buy poppies, and then that money goes to the Legion, which is a charity organization for veterans. So that is what was going on in the UK. So now we are going to jump straight to the Netherlands, because there was nothing going on in Denmark and no announcements from Denmark. So let's go straight to the Dutch royal family. The Netherlands. In the Netherlands, I think it is officially safe to say that we are fully back to work because there's a lot going on. So today, King Willem-Alexander visited the De Bennekel neighborhood of Eindhoven, which is a municipality in the Netherlands. And so this is a place he visited 6 years ago that was in a pretty big need of revitalization, and so 6 years have now passed, which for some reason seems crazy. Like, I understand that he has been king for 8 years now, but for some reason it feels like it was literally yesterday, because I was thinking, like, oh, maybe this was like a tour, like he did a whole country tour kind of thing. Like, oh, maybe that's what this is. And then I was like, no, wait, he's been king for a long time, like 8 years at this point. So 6 years ago, he would have been well into his reign, I guess. So he was doing a follow-up, essentially, of that, meeting with different organizations. There is a, like, football league now that has a community service element to it. So, like, lots of different new social projects to really focus in on ways to help people. So I thought that was really awesome. And then he also visited the eBusco factory. So for days, because this has been on the calendar since I was looking this weekend, have been going, how do you say that? Like, how do I pronounce this? It's eBusco because it's a company that produces emission-free electric buses. So it's eBusco. That's it. And you guys, I'm laughing because I literally spent like a good amount of time looking at this. And like just figured it out today. So he did that. So they make the buses. They also make the charging stations for the buses. They've just got a monopoly on the e-buses. No, I don't know if it's a monopoly, but they do a lot of it. So that was his second event. During that visit, he also was able to learn more about the green transition for public transportation. And then we have Queen Maxima, who is apparently going to the G20 summit, which logical, makes sense as the UN Secretary General Special Advocate. Apparently the G20 summit starts today. Like literally today, probably tomorrow in all reality, but like everyone's traveling today, including President Joe Biden. So now there's like a huge piece of me that's like, ooh, another royal meeting with the president, like fingers crossed. Maybe I'd take a Jill Biden meeting, Jill Biden, like Dr. Jill Biden. But, you know, we'll see what we get. Maybe nothing will happen. So more on that to come, presuming they share information, whether it be from the Dutch royal household or the UNSGSA, like, office. So Queen Maxima's UN office. I follow both to get that information. So that is what was going on in the Netherlands. So now we are going to go ahead and move over to Norway. Norway. Norway, there were a couple of events today. There were actually like more than a few. There were a lot of audiences today, so like a foreign minister audience, a couple different audiences as well. But none of those were publicly really shared. They were just like the equivalent of a court circular item. So we're just not really going to talk about those. The only time I kind of make an exception is if there are new ambassadors, which I don't think there were, but I'll check quickly. But otherwise, today, King Harald hosted a dinner for the members of the Storting, which is the Norwegian Parliament. This is an annual event that happens shortly after the opening of Parliament, the parliamentary season. But today, or last year, obviously, it was canceled because pandemic. So they held the dinner this year, and it is for all the members of the government, or Storting at least, and the prime minister and like all the ministers, right? So that was the event. So King Harald hosted, but also in attendance were, of course, Queen Sonja, Crown Prince Haakon, Crown Princess Mette-Marit, as well as all of the government ministers. So apparently this was the 103rd time this dinner has been held. And I haven't watched the speech, let alone, I haven't read it, I haven't watched it, there is no translation, etc. That being said, I do know that they are usually pretty funny, and a comedic speech focused on the joy, right? And so it's also, it also has serious notes. Like, I'm very quickly reading through, he talked about the 10th anniversary of the July 2nd, 22nd terrorist attack, and all the other things. So, that is what the dinner is. Also today, Crown Princess Mette-Marit sent a digital greeting, to mark the 100th anniversary of, food education in schools, in Norwegian schools. So it was the, food and health subject, the classroom subject that has been implemented in Norwegian schools for the past 100 years, which is, of course, super duper important. So that is what was going on in Norway. Like I said, I have checked now. There were not any, ambassadors coming. It was, the foreign minister was one, and then some other audiences as well. But because that information isn't really shared, there's not much for me to talk about. So with that, we are going to go ahead and move now to the Spanish royal family. Spain. We've got more events in Spain. It's just a lot of events all the time. No, it actually feels pretty normal now because everyone else is also doing a few events a day. For a long time, it felt crazy because, no one else was doing so many events, but now it's feeling like it's really starting to even out, which is good. I appreciate that. So, this morning, King Felipe and Queen Letizia traveled to Galicia to deliver the 2020 Princess of Girona Foundation School of the Year Award to a school called Mestre Clara Torres Rule School. So each year, it's a newer award, but I think this is the third or fourth edition. So for the past few years, the foundation, the Princess of Girona Foundation, awards a school anywhere in Spain. So typically, if we compare the Princess of Asturias Foundation to the Princess of Girona Foundation, they're very, very similar in what they focus, what kind of things they do, sort of, but in terms of, this kind of extra award that is outside of the typical awards. The Asturias Foundation focuses in Asturias with Pueblo Ejemplar, or Best Village. And the Princess of Girona actually expands at this point and now is looking at like all of Spain for the school. So in case there's like, wait, this isn't in Girona. Well, Girona is a very small province within Spain anyway. Also, the royal family is not allowed in Girona. They are at least the king is persona non grata. That's a whole thing I don't really want to talk about, except I realize I just, mentioned it. But due to the Catalan independence movement, and King Felipe's not super apolitical response to their election, that was held illegally. Like, I see the point that he was making, but due to that, he became persona non grata in the province of Girona. So anyway, like, the awards are not given out in Girona, they're given out in Barcelona, because that's at least part of the same autonomous community. It's a hot mess up there. But anyway, the school is recognized for their ability to educate in very rural areas. So there are like multiple schools within this school because of districting, like to make it easy for kids to get to, because it is a rural school. So it's a lot of pueblos feeding into the center. So that is a very interesting aspect. They do a lot of different things in very creative ways, musical instruments out of recycled items. There was like an outdoor gym class, PE, physical education. We call it gym here in the US, or maybe that's just like a Midwest thing. But they were outside, like on yoga mats, so that looked really fun. There was just like a lot of different interactive stuff going on, which I think is awesome. So they toured the school. They went to 2 of the different buildings that are pretty spread out because of the area. They met with kids who were doing like a live radio recording of the event, which I think is adorable. Let's see. And then there was like a cooking something going on outside too. I haven't watched everything yet, but there was just a lot going on. And then there was an award ceremony where like the official award was given to the director of the schools, like the directors of the school. So that was the morning, and then in the afternoon, King Felipe held an audience with representatives of the 65th Annual Conference for the International Union of Lawyers, which is a conference that literally any attorney, lawyer, law, anything can attend, that is currently taking place in Madrid over the next few days. So like today, tomorrow, and Saturday, I think. So that was back in Madrid. He held that. And then I think they both have some events tomorrow. And then in my failed remembering, Queen Letizia is also going on a cooperation trip at the beginning of November. She is going to Paraguay on the 2nd. So that's on Tuesday. So we'll see more from that trip next week as well. So lots going on. Just a lot going on in November. Just a lot. I have started the process of putting some systems in place to make my life easier when November comes. Like, I'm working diligently to do what I need to do to make sure that everything is good. So that is the update from Spain. So now we are going to move over to the Swedish royal family. Sweden. finishing up in Sweden, we had two pretty big events today. We had the 18th stop of the 21 county tour. So today, King Carl Gustaf and Queen Silvia visited Holland County, which again, like I said, is the 18th stop. So we have 3 more, which is crazy. I think, we're actually going to get through them all now, which, sounds great, because if you don't remember, Sweden started this adventure in 2020, got through 3 or 4 visits, and then had to cancel the remaining of them until the pandemic situation cleaned up a little. Not resolved. I don't know that it's ever going to be resolved, but cleaned up. So today they had a couple of different places they went. First, they started at a school, to discuss the effects of the pandemic on the past 2 academic years, or maybe 3 at this point because of when it started. If we look at, I'm from the States, right? So if we look at the U.S. academic year, March would have been close to the end of the academic year 1920. We went all of 20 and 21 academic year, and we just started 21 and 22. So we're on the 3rd academic year with COVID situations. So obviously COVID has taken its toll a lot on academics. So they talked about that. They also, of course, visited the local health center, where they met with staff. They took part in a meeting about the current health situation in the county. They also explored different parts of the health center around COVID. So that also happened. And then additionally, they visited a hotel to learn about the hospitality sector in the county and how that's been affected, and the art museum to continue to show their support for culture throughout Sweden, and these culture houses, museums, etc., concert houses, etc., to show their support for the industry that was also obviously hugely impacted, by the pandemic. So that was the 18th county visit. Like I said, we have 3 more. I think the next one is November 11th, if I remember correctly. Let me confirm that if I can. I would like to get that confirmed. Let's see. The next one, yes, is the 11th. So we're getting there. We've got 3 more. The middle 2 of those, so the next 2 will be Crown Princess Victoria and Prince Daniel, and then the last one will be King Carl Gustaf and Queen Silvia. So we're getting there. So with that, so that was King Carl Gustaf and Queen Silvia's day, and then we also had Crown Princess Victoria and Prince Daniel visiting the Swedish Public Health Agency, so kind of like their National Institute for Health, to discuss the ongoing work of the agency during the last, it's so funny, I wrote during the last year. At this point, it's almost 2. But during the pandemic, they also had a conversation about the future work that needs to be done, preparedness, but also just ongoing monitoring for COVID, because I think we all just kind of need to accept this reality that COVID isn't really necessarily going away. We would love for it to, but it's not. And so how do we start living our lives again with this reality of COVID? So that was their conversation. And then they also were able to go around and talk to employees who were both there at work in person, but also digitally. And they were able to thank them for their commitment to the public health situation in Sweden, as well as obviously the intense amount of work that they have been doing since January of 2020, which is when this thing at least was people knew it existed. I remember saying something about it very early on in January, not thinking it was going to become what it has, of course, but that's when it was like becoming the thing. So that is the update on Sweden. That is the rundown for the day. Lots of big things coming up, but like I said, I will record again on Monday the 1st, Sunday the 31st, just to wrap up. Oh, I love that. It's going to be so nice and tidy in a bow, which is so great. So I will do all of that. And then I will talk to you all then. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye.